Hi, I'm Bonnie Lynn Linke, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and welcome to my studio, Stamping with Bonnie Lynn. Today I am using a trio of stamp sets from the July to December mini catalog to bring you my card, which is, I didn't know what type of fold it was, so I'm just calling it a creative fold today. And here we go. So I used the Christmas light stamp set, which is this one right here. I used the dies on it to cut out the tree. And then I open it up and I used the twinkling light dies to cut out my sayings right here. And these sayings are both from the Brightest Glow stamp set. And on here, the Merry Christmas is from the Brightest Glow stamp set. And God's Blessings to You is from the Hope and Peace stamp set right here. I love these sayings on here. I use them a lot on my own personal cards. I just love them. And I use the Lights Aglow. I think that's the designer series paper we're using. Lights Aglow, I believe it's called. And that's the designer series paper we're using today. So this is the card we're doing. So I'll set this stuff aside and let me check the name of that designer series paper real quick to make sure I gave you the right name. Yes, I did. Lights Aglow. Okay, sorry about that. Sometimes I just draw a memory blank. So I'm told that the older we get, we're entitled to do that. So, all right. I love this card. I knew I wanted to make this style card. And I knew I wanted to use the Christmas light stamp set. And so it just worked out perfect for what I wanted. Okay, so I'll set that right there where I can look at it. I've pre-cut everything already. And a couple of the things I've even put tape on. But this is my card base. It is 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I scored it at 5.5 inches, which is right here. And then I scored it also at 2 3/4. But when I was scoring it, because you'll notice that one side has the valley and the other side have the mountain. So I did turn it over. And I scored it all as one sheet like this. And so I scored it at 2 3/4. I flipped it over and then I scored it at 5.5. And then I cut it at 4 1/4. And the reason why I flipped it over is because I wanted to have this part fold down. I wanted the mountain on the inside of the folds just so it would be sturdier, because we are always supposed to fold our cards with the mountain on the inside. Now as I turn this over, yes, let me get the right side. Having trouble seeing today because my mountain's on this side, so it's going to be on the inside when I fold it. Like that. Okay, and now we're going to join these two together, just like so. And it doesn't matter if it's that way or that way, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I'm going to get my tape. My glue. I know, I'm actually going to use glue. And the reason why I just switched the cards around is because this corner's a little bit dinged, so I thought I would want it on the underside. So go ahead and put my glue on. And, get it somewhat close to the edges, because that's what you really care about. The middle doesn't really matter. And then for this, I just stand them up and I push this in to make sure it's all the way there. But by standing it, I make sure I'm getting it flat at that other end, just like so. And why I have it like this, I'm going to go ahead and because on the inside, this was Evening Evergreen. I used soft succulent from my mat, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this down while I have everything out. And I learned something yesterday watching the World, I know this is coming a few weeks later, but the World Card Making Day for Stampin' Up. The person demonstrating, there was an edge on here from cutting it from the trimmer, and she took her bone folder and just kind of smoothed it out. I never thought of that before. So in case you hadn't thought of that, I hope that's helpful to you. Because I always feel for the edges to make sure they're on the underside if possible. But now that I know that little trick, and it really does work, it really did flatten it out. So now that I know that, I can just do that and not be concerned about having that edge showing. Okay, and now I did cut this at 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And I might have made it just one here. I'm trying to get it over to the side some. One mark smaller, in which case I would have also adjusted the piece that we're going to stamp on, because this piece here should be 5 1/4 by 4 inches. But you always want to test it before you stamp it to make sure it's going to fit the way you want it to fit, and that looks perfect. So when we stamp it, we'll be fine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my paper on all these other mats. I could have probably done a couple of them beforehand, but I thought I would do this with you. And this is a good one if you have your paper all cut, you could go ahead and put your card together with me. Now I have made quite a few with this stamp set. I really like it. And I think this stamp set is great for doing creative fold cards too. At least it has been for me. And I use tear and tape because, as some of you know, I'm not a big fan of glue. It's just occasionally like where you're gluing the card base like that, attaching the card base, making it larger. Glue is a good alternative so that you can slide and make sure everything is just right. And where that mat was such a tight fit on the card base, I wanted to make sure it fit correctly. Now what I did is I cut my soft succulent pieces, and I cut 4 of them, and they are 2 3/8 by 4 1/8. So I went down 1/8 on all my sizes. You can go down 1/4 if you want to, but that was just going to make it so my designer series paper was going to be overwhelmed by the tree. So that's why I went down in 1/8 increments. And either side of this designer paper is really pretty because those lines are pretty too. And we are using gold behind our tree, so you can't go wrong. And there's gold in this paper. I just love this designer series paper. And on your envelope flap, now I didn't do an envelope yet for this card. And the reason why is because I'm doing a class, an in-person class next week. And I want to make sure that I have enough designer series paper to do my envelopes with it. If not, then I'll just stamp the tree on the bottom left-hand corner. Just part of the tree, and that will look very pretty. Or I could also stamp the joy stamp on the back of the envelope flap. That would be pretty. I could do an edge of Evening Evergreen on it. And what I mean by it, I'll show you on this other thing I have going here. There's some pool party right up here, and then the rest of the envelope flap is crumb cake. You could do that with evening evergreen and then soft succulent, and you could stamp joy across here or one of the other sayings. That would be pretty for an envelope also. This is probably my favorite piece of paper out of this packet of designer series paper. I love the little dots. Kind of reminds me of the bokeh design, and then the circles that you have in the back there, and then you have these golden ivory dots and a very beautiful design. Just gorgeous. I think I like greens more than I knew what I did, because I love this evening evergreen. It is probably my favorite green ever. Okay, so now we're going to put, I want these pieces on the outside, and I'm going to go ahead and get that started so that I can try and get an even spacing around there and hold that. There we go. I'll pull off the rest of my tape. And I just turn my card base to have the tape in the angle that I wanted. I don't try to twist my hands around. Okay, now we're going to put this one on. I wanted something different on the inside. That's how I came up with this piece. There we go. But I didn't leave it undecorated. I don't know if you guys saw that or not. I did decorate it. See, this is going to be one of my personal Christmas cards. So my husband likes to have a look and say, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that, or I like this color better. And so, but I gladly let him have a say in it, because, you know, the cards are from both of us. And I like the fact that he takes an interest in my stamping. He's very supportive of it. Okay, and let me get this one started too while we're at it. And then, because these were side by side when I cut them, so I was looking to make sure I had the same piece up, because this one has a larger border down there. So I wanted to make sure they were the same when I put this down. And I also checked that my two end pieces were the same too, because I wanted the bottom of the loopy doops to be down, facing down. On my webpage is my customer rewards program. My webpage is stampingwithbonnielynn.com. And for every increment of $25 you spend, you get 1 reward point. And it starts with the first $25, and that's in merchandise. So if you spend $49.99, you only get 1 reward point. But if you spend $50.50 or $50 even, you get 2 reward points. Once you get 10 rewards points, then you get a $25 gift certificate from me. Okay, now the one thing I forgot to do is when I put this, before I glued it down, I forgot to see if these matched up. And they don't quite match up, because what I would have probably done is I probably would have cut this edge, one of the edges, the one that was on the inside, I would have cut a tiny bit off so that it would have scooted a little bit closer. But as you can see on the back here, it lines up pretty well. So it just, and that's okay. But you can see here, because this one I cut off maybe 1/16 so that they joined together. So if you want to do that, what you do before you glue them together, you would just see if that they close. And if not, you would just take and cut off just a tiny hair from the evening evergreen so that the top layer would push up against it. So just a hint if that's important to you. Okay, now over here I've already cut my trees. And let me show you the dies that I cut this with. The Designer Series paper, what I did is I laid these down on the paper like so, and then I taped them together with a piece of either use washi tape or purple tape, and it holds them in place. And then I very carefully lifted it up without untaping it and laid it, and I turned it around like that on the paper so that I got two side by side. And that's how I cut out my Designer Series paper. And then I cut out the gold glitter paper, which is also in the mini catalog and comes with a piece of, I believe it's Evening Evergreen and Berry Vanilla glitter paper too. You get two of each color. I cut out two trees. And again, I put it on the paper, and to show you what I mean, let me just take this here that I'm using for my saying. I laid the die like this to cut the first piece, and then I turned around and laid it like this to cut the second piece. And I believe for cutting this out of the glitter paper, we used a 4x4.5 piece of paper for that. But that's how I got my trees. And now I'm going to take and grab my glue dots. And I'm going to put about 4 glue dots on the back side of the Designer Series paper. And you want to make sure you put your glue dots where you don't have the holes that were cut out when you cut out the trees, because there are holes in here. You can see them. You don't want to block those because you want to make sure that your gold glitter shows through. And let's see, it's hard to see on my desktop. So put one there. And I did put one at the very top on the back side there to hold it in place. And also it's good to get one on each of the bottom parts of your tree too to hold it down. Just make sure you don't get it on a dot. And I think I need one in the middle too. Okay. And now we'll put that. I had a piece of my Designer Series paper, the dots on there. You want to line this up as best you can. And if there's a little bit that shows on the sides, that's okay. I guess, yeah, it does cut the bottom a little bit larger. So a little bit showing. It's not a problem with me. Okay, and then we'll do this one real quick. But when you order from me for the rewards points, you got to remember to use the host code. And the current host code is always on my webpage on the right-hand side about midway down. Because that's what gets you the points, the rewards points. And there's a form on there that you can, it says print form I believe is what it says, and print it out, and you can keep track of your orders and let me know when you reached it. And I also keep track too, but I recommend you keep track also. That way, if one of us misses one, we should know it. Okay, now to put these on, let's see, did I use, yes, I used dimensionals for each of the trees. So where are my dimensionals? Hiding under the ink. I like using a lot of dimensionals. Just because I like making sure things don't get squished. So I'm going to add a couple minis up here. Any one up there. I need a couple more of these. I'm filming more than one card today, and it's with the same set. And so I'm getting in my head a little bit confused. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to take all of these off. At least I don't have to remember different stamp sets and designer series paper names now that I know which one I'm using. Okay, and we put this down at the bottom, just center it in here. Try to get it straight. This would look really pretty in the cherry cobbler too. The card would. And also, I actually had a cherry cobbler tree done in gold for something else that I didn't use, because I looked at putting this on here, and now I wanted to show it to you so you could see. That's really pretty too. Just I heat embossed it, I stamped it and heat embossed it. So that would look real pretty on the front of the card too. So, you know, you have so many different options that you can do on this card. Just let your imagination run wild. Okay, and now we want to put some of the red and green adhesive back pearls on here. And even though it's red and green, the reds are hidden by the front, and you also have silver and gold. And I did use a gold one right up here. Actually, I think I had a little bit higher up because I have the ribbon to put on too. Here. Down here. That right there. Right there. And we're going to use some of the soft succulent too. And just a couple more. And yes, I am looking over at the other card and just kind of putting them opposites in the same places on each side. Okay, and now we need our ribbon. So where's my glue dots? Here they are. I've already tied my bows and I left the tails a little bit long. I'm just gonna do that like so. This way. And the one I have in my hand was pulled a little bit tighter when I was tying it than the other, so that's okay. Now what I also did is I took two glue dots and I cut them in half. And I'm just going to do it on one side right now to show you what I did, because the ribbon was going all over. I'm not doing a very good job getting that glue dot off. So, okay, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I did not do that what I had planned on. So, okay, just want a little piece of it, and I put it right along the outside of the tree, and I stuck one edge of the ribbon on it so that it would stay put, and get my other half and put it right here. And I put the vanilla edge on, whoops, I think I want this one on here, right, like so. Like so, and this is this ribbon here. It is the Satin Edge Gold Ribbon. And I cut mine 13 inches when I cut them, as you can see, because I will end up cutting them a little bit shorter. These are my ribbon cutting only scissors. That's why the ribbon is on there. That way I have a good pair of scissors for cutting ribbons. So I will do the other ribbon in a little while. Okay, now for in here, what we're going to do is I have these gold pieces right here. And we are going to put a couple pieces of tape on the back of each. And I want you to stay with me if you can, because I'm using the stamp apparatus for the inside. And as you notice, I'm using two different color inks on it, if you saw that at the beginning. And I want to show you how I did that, how I set everything up for it. Okay, and I want this in the middle, which is right about, I think I want 3 rows showing. Yep, right there. And put this one over. And this was cut with one of the stylish shape, the 3rd largest round circle. Put that there. And these were cut with the die out of the twinkling dies. And the stamps were from the, wait, is that the dies they were from? No, they are from the Labels Aglow dies. I'm sorry. Oh, they're what that stamp said. And it was just this circle die here, and it has the holes in it. And I stamped it in Cherry Cobbler in Evening Evergreen. And I need to take and put my dimensionals on it. I'm making tomato soup for dinner tonight. We have a garden, and I got 2.5 pounds of tomatoes picked yesterday, so I'm making tomato soup today. Oh, it's so good. I wonder if I can just tell my husband it's an early birthday present for him, because it's one of his favorites. Okay, And just try and get that straight. Now, I didn't put any gems on these because these are going to close on the inside. And when mailed, I didn't want them leaving an indentation on the inside saying. So that's why I'm not putting gems on. But you can feel free to do whatever you like with your card. Okay, so that goes like so. So now I just want to show you how I did my stamping for this. I have my stamps all set up already. And this is what I like about the Stamparatus is you have two pieces. What I'm going to do is I set it. Now I put tape on the back, but not at the top because I didn't want it to interfere with the stamping, the level of the paper. So make sure this, maybe I want this up a tiny bit higher. Let's see. That'll be perfect. Okay. Okay, the Merry Christmas was in the cherry cobbler, so we'll do it first. Press that down. Perfect. Doesn't even need another layer of ink, but if it did, I would just be able to stamp it again because the magnet's holding it in place. I'm going to take this off. It has ink on it. I don't want it all over me. And believe me, I would get it all over me. Now I'm going to turn this sideways because the way I set this one up, it's coming up from the bottom, and I want you to be able to see. Now I have it so it's real close to underneath the Merry Christmas. But even though I move the paper up, it doesn't matter because my stamps are set according to each other, hopefully. Now, for some reason, this stamp, when I get ink on the edge, it's getting on the paper when I stamp. So I don't want to use my ink pad. I don't know if it's just a flaw with my stamp. It was the first time I used it yesterday, this particular stamp. So I don't know what the problem is, but, you know. And I just don't want to have to, because I could wipe the ink off the edges. I'm going to have to wipe a little bit off. But I just don't want to have to take the time to do that while I'm with you guys. So there's that. I am going to get that little piece there. And that little piece there. And isn't that beautiful? Okay, now just to show you that I can do it again because it's holding in place and I can't see what I'm stamped. Once I close it, it's not like I can see that I'm matching it up. I just got to trust. And I can do that. Just look at that. Perfect. Perfect. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So take that off. I don't want it on my scratch paper there. And then put another piece of tape on here. And we'll just set this in here. Center it on the piece of paper. I think what happened when I was cutting it yesterday, I cut a little bit too much off, and that's why I had to rearrange it where I was setting it, but I knew to check first before stamping that it was going to hit where I wanted it to. I love the two-tone color inks. I tried on, because naturally I, test everything out ahead of time. I tried on a piece of scratch paper using soft succulent and doing reverse for Merry Christmas. And I didn't like the look, so the cherry cobbler was perfect. And then I have right here a piece of designer series paper that I've already put tape on. Let me take that backing off of it. And I'm going to take my time putting it down in case it's too long where I can snip it off, but well, I'm a little bit off. I should have gone a little bit for that. That's okay. There we go. Now, if you have the limited edition stamp set, which I do right here, you can stamp one of these great stamps on here, Made with Love, limited edition, hand stamped. They're perfect to use. I use these a lot on the cards I'm making for other people to resell. For other people, I let them pick out which one they want, and I stamp it on the back. I have my own personalized stamp, though, for my family cards. And there we go. Beautiful. I love this card, and it looks just like this one right here. Just beautiful. I love them. I love the stamp set, and I hope you enjoyed this card, and I hope if you make it, you enjoy making it as much as I do. You can use other stamp sets with this. I think the Gnomes card stamp set would be really cute, having those guys down here on the card, or some animals. Either way, you can't go wrong. Maybe we'll see this same card again in another Christmas design. We'll see. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, my webpage is stampingwithbonnielynn.com. And if this video encourages you to buy the stamp set, I would really love to be your demonstrator. And if you don't have a demonstrator, I would love it so much. And you can earn rewards points. And I do send out catalogs automatically to anybody that has ordered from me in the last 6 months. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.